All praises of Allah Ta'ala, who has primarily blessed us by creating us human beings and then given us the gift and the guidance of Islam and Iman, and then allowing us to reach this blessed month of Ramadan Al-Kareem Al-Mubarak. Allah Azza wa Jal has made this an opportunity for believers to have their sins forgiven and to attain salvation from the fire of hell. May Allah Azza wa Jal allow us to attain those things from His presence. We're going to discuss, by the will and permission of Allah Azza wa Jal, the legal rulings surrounding fasting and those things associated with it. Allah Azza wa Jal will question people primarily on those things which He has made obligatory upon them. The first of them is Iman, and after Iman, prayer. After prayer, people are able, then Zakat, and thereafter the fasting of the month of Ramadan. So for a servant who is prudent, who wants salvation of Allah Azza wa Jal, he will endeavour to rectify and validate his works for Allah Azza wa Jal. If his works are not valid, they are worthless. They are worthless. So your intention of coming here should be to attain the good pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, to rectify your works for His sake. And seeking knowledge has amazing merits and benefits. It is a way by which Allah Azza wa Jal's good pleasure is attained. I'd like to mention Hadith Al-Sharif on the merits of knowledge. The reason for this is the human beings work by a measure of two scales. First of them is Targheeb, the second one is Tarheeb. Targheeb means encouragement. The person is shown something as a way of reward if he does something. Encouragement. And another way in the Sharia is Tarheeb. The person is threatened or he is promised with punishment as to keep him in balance into doing good and staying away from haram. So the Sharia works like this. So this Hadith al-Sharif focuses on at-Targheeb, encouragement. Abu Dawood, rahimahullah, is the one who collected this Hadith, and the narrator is Sayyidina Kathir ibn Qais radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. أنه قدم رجل من المدينة على أبي الدرداء رضي الله تعالى عنه وهو بدمشق. So Kathir ibn Qais رضي الله تعالى عنه, he said, a man traveled from Medina al-Munawwara and he came to visit Sayyidina Abu Darda رضي الله تعالى عنه, who was Sahabi of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was in Damascus at the time, the journey of a month, and he was the first Qadi, the judge in Damascus. Sayyidina Abu Darda is still buried there, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. His maqam is known and is oft visited. So he came to visit him. فقال, Sayyidina Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu saw him and he said, ما أقدمك يا أخي. He said, oh my brother in Islam, what has brought you here today? He said, قال أما جئت لحاجة. He said, didn't you come for a need? What did you come for? He said, بلغني حديث أنك تحدث عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The man replied, it has come to me that you narrate a hadith from Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and I've come to hear it and take it from you. أما جئت لحاجة. So Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala, he was checking his intentions to see if they were pure. He said, didn't you come for a need? قال لا. He said, no. He says, أما جئت لتجارة. Didn't you come for some business or some worldly gain? قال لا. He said, no. قال ما جئت إلا في طلب هذا الحديث. He said, I have no intention and no purpose. I only came to receive this hadith sharif from you. So he traveled a month's journey for one hadith of Shaykh. They valued what was to be valued. فقال فإني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول. So Abu Darda, in his state of happiness and joy, he said, in that case, I will give you some good news and glad tidings. He said, verily I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, من سلك طريقا يبتغي فيه علما سلك الله تعالى به طريقا إلى الجنة. He said, for I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, whosoever treads on a path seeking knowledge within it, through that blessing Allah Azza wa Jal will pave a way for him to Jannah. So this first portion of the Hadith al-Sharif encompasses everybody who has made time and come today to learn knowledge concerning his relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. Then he continued, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the second portion of the Hadith, it is in relation to a person who has made a habit within his life to seek knowledge. Talibul ilm, somebody who seeks regular knowledge. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَإِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةَ لَتَضَعُ أَجْنِحَتَهُمْ رِضًا بِطَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ. He said, who is this student of knowledge? What's his rank with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala? He said, truly the angels place down their wings of mercy out of satisfaction for the student of knowledge. When a person is walking towards a gathering where he's going to learn, the angels place down their wings of light in satisfaction and happiness for the student of knowledge. This is his honor. Then he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam continued. So first, a person comes to a gathering and learns some masail. It's not a habit. Secondly, he becomes a seeker and a student to learn knowledge concerning his relationship with Allah Azza wa Jalla. When he becomes firm and established within that knowledge, he becomes a scholar. Then he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, giving you the chain of succession to these ranks, he said, وَإِنَّ الْعَالِمَ لَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ حَتَّى الْحِيتَانُ فِي الْمَاءِ. He said, as for the alim, his rank is such that truly every single celestial body, every single being in the heavens and the earth, even the fish in the seas, pray for his forgiveness. This is the alim. Then he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave us a comparison to understand the rank of the alim, the one who knows Allah Azza wa Jalla. He said, وَفَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ كَفَضْلِ الْقَمَرِ عَلى سَوَائِرِ الْكَوَاكِبِ. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, the merit of the scholar above just the worshipper, the person who worships without knowledge, is like the splendor and the brightness of the moon in comparison to the small stars. His light is such. And then he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam grouped these scholars, these men who have attained knowledge for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and he grouped them amongst the prophets and messengers. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, وَإِنَّ الْعُلَمَاءَ وَرَثَةُ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. Truly the scholars, they are the heirs and the inheritors of the prophets. You can only inherit if you know al-fiqh, you can only inherit from someone you have a relationship with. So the scholars, they are already inheritors and heirs of the prophets. وَإِنَّ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ لَمْ يُوَرِّثُوا دِينَارًا أَوْ دِرْهَمًا. And the prophets and messengers, upon them be peace, They didn't leave for inheritance pieces of gold and pieces of silver. It's not worldly wealth. إِنَّمَا وَرَّثُوا الْعِلْمِ. What did they leave as inheritance? Knowledge. فَمَنْ أَخَذَ بِهِ أَخَذَ بِحَظٍ وَافِرٍ. Whosoever takes a share of this inheritance of knowledge that the prophets and messengers upon them be peace left, he has taken a worthy and an abundant share from the shares of Allah. So there's your tartib, there's your structure. Come to a gathering, learn something, make it a habit, and then become a scholar. And these are the merits and the rewards promised to you by the one whose tongue is infallible, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As-Sadiq al-Masduq, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is truthful and he is always believed. So a person should take his time out and shouldn't make this temporary for Ramadan. Ahlul Sham, the people of Sham, they have a beautiful saying. They say, Kunu Rabbaniyin wa la takunu Ramadaniyin. They say, oh people, be people of Allah. Don't be people of Ramadan. Ramadan comes, you have endeavor, you worship. First day of Shawwal, Eid comes, everything's finished. Don't be that person. Be a person who can continue with his works. Why? Allah Azza wa Jal al-Baqi, He remains forever. As long as you exist, you work for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you don't work for a month. This month, Ramadan al-Kareem, it has its merits and its superiority over other months because of one thing. And one thing in essence is the revelation of Al-Quran Al-Kareem. This is why Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed this month. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan is given its exclusive definition by saying, Allah Azza wa Jal saying, the month of Ramadan is what? That in which month the Quran Al-Kareem was revealed. So what do we do when Ramadan comes? You pick up the Mus'haf al-Sharif and you read and you read and you read from Al-Fatiha to Nas. When Ramadan goes, you close the Mus'haf and read. This is not the relationship with the Quran Al-Kareem. The relationship with the Quran Al-Kareem, if you don't recite it all the time every day, then the wisest thing to do is memorize a portion from the Quran Al-Kareem in Ramadan and recite it after Ramadan. So you still have your relationship with the Quran Al-Kareem. So people of beginning states, what should they do? They should pick up the Mus'haf al-Sharif and memorize Surah Al-Mulk. Tabarak al-Ladhi, 30 verses over 30 days. A verse a day, and he should continue to recite this every night until he dies. And the benefit of this is the punishment of the grave is lifted off such a person. So one should benefit from his Ramadan long term. This is the point of Ramadan. And another thing I'd like to mention, because it's quoted and misquoted and people are quoting without knowledge and authentication. People are saying the Quran Al-Kareem contains 6,666 verses. This is iftira, this is a lie against the Quran Al-Kareem. In Ilm Al-Adad, in the science of numbers, the sixes represent the Dajjal, the Antichrist, the Kuffar from the Nasara and the Yahud, the Christians and the Jews. They place this within some books, and some people have been transmitting this without having any knowledge. The Quran Al-Kareem by Ijma' contains over 6,000 verses, 200 and something. It's not 6,666. If you look at Imam Suyuti's Itqan fi Ulum al-Quran, 6,236 verses. 6,236 verses is what the Mufassirun, Ahlul Ilm, the Ulama, the Muhaqqiqun have agreed upon. There's a narration from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, again misquoted. He said the number of ayahs in the Quran Al-Kareem represent stations and degrees in Jannah. And he counted them as 6,216, not 6,666, which is oft misquoted. Please be aware of this fact. It is not 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 2, 3, 6. We had a scholar mention it the other day, and I asked him, and he said, let me go back and check. I.e., he said without checking, without reference. So be mindful of what is said and what is heard and what you transmit. It is iftira, it is a fabrication against the Quran al-Kareem. The other point I'd like to mention before we move forward is something to do with our salawat, our prayers. This month will bring opportunity. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal has opened all the doors of Jannah, closed all the doors of the fire of hell, and He has chained up and imprisoned all the shayateen. So people's influence from the shayateen is reduced, hence you see the masajid full. Okay, so you can start praying, and you pray supererogatory works, the fara'id, you start praying. Prayer has its way of validating itself. It is common now, we see people coming into the masajid, and if they are wearing trousers which cover their ankles, they fold the trousers up. This is prohibited in the hadith of Sharif. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Umirna an la nakuffa an sawbina." We have been commanded not to fold our clothes. So the people bring the argument and they say, well, wearing the trousers covering the ankles is against the sunnah. Yes, it's against the sunnah, but it is a sunnah of dress, not sunnah of prayer. You either wear clothes above your ankles without folding them. You don't fold your trousers just for prayer. This is prohibited against. If you wear trousers above your ankles, it covers your ankles. When you come into prayer, don't fold them up to pray, because you've done two wrongs. One of them is, firstly, wearing the trousers above your ankles. And then the second one is folding them at the time of prayer, which we are prohibited against doing. So don't do that. If you're interested in following the sunnah, have your trousers shortened and stitched above your ankles. It is not a sunnah of prayer to wear clothes or fold clothes over the ankles. It is a sunnah of dress. It needs to be mentioned. You don't command the person praying behind you to fold his trousers up if it's too long, because this is prohibited against in the hadith of Sharif. And another thing, our rows need to be straight when you pray in congregation. The whole meaning of congregation is to stand in rows like the angels do, straight rows. And the straightness of the rows, it is measured by one thing: everybody's heels have to be on the same line. Everybody's heels. If you find you're praying and you move back and forth, subtly move into place without causing excessive movement to straighten the row again. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam emphasized this so much. He said, if your rows are not straight and they bend, Allah will cause disagreement within your hearts. It is from Itmam al-Salat, some of the ulama said it is wajib. When you come to congregation, you pray, you stand in a straight line. Everybody looks to his left and right to make sure that is happening. Don't leave any gaps in between your shoulders when you stand in prayer. This is the ruling and the etiquette of prayer. Give it its right. Men, when you prostrate, don't prostrate like women. Your thighs should be far away from your stomachs. Your arms shouldn't be close, your elbows shouldn't be close to your thighs and your knees. There should be a space between them. Sayyidah Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she described the prostration of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, she said when he used to prostrate, the gap in between his arms and his thighs and his belly was so, if a kid, i.e. the child of a goat, wanted to walk past, it could. That was the description of his prostration. Don't prostrate like women, and don't lift your feet off the ground when you're prostrating. Make sure your toes are on the ground. And to fulfill the sunnah, the toes point towards the qibla. But if the toes are hovering off the ground, or the top portion of the feet are in contact with the ground, no sajda, no prostration, no prayer. It is important that you rectify your works for Allah Azza wa Jal. Otherwise you will come to find them naught, worth nothing. This is your obligation. This is something within your capacity to attain. So endeavor to attain it. Don't come on the day of judgment and all your works have come to naught because you weren't bothered. You didn't have any care. You just performed the action without knowledge. Imam al-Bukhari famously says, Al-ilmu qabla al-amal. Knowledge precedes action. Knowledge precedes action. Knowledge needs to be learned before actions are performed, otherwise the actions remain invalid. So we start with the Mubarak text of Imam Al-Quduri rahimahullah ta'ala wa radiya anhu. 428 is his passing, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Hijri. So this text is a Mubarak text. It has been handed down to us through the ulama for nearly 1,000 years. Over 1,000 years. This text is Mubarak. It has been accepted as the main text in the Hanafi madhab, and it is a Muktasar, it is a succinct, it is a concise version of Imam Al-A'zam Abu Hanifa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu's Fiqh, his understanding of the Sharia, and he will discuss legal aspects relating to fasting. As for the spiritual aspects, books of Fiqh usually don't cover these things because the spiritual aspects of Ramadan and fasting is experiential. It's not quantifiable in books of fiqh. Books of fiqh deal with what? How to validate an action. What is halal, what is haram. So this is the core of our subject today. He says, Rahimahullah ta'ala, Kitab al-Sawm, the chapter of fasting. He says, As-Sawmu darban, wajibun wa naflun. He said, fasting broadly categorized in two types. First of those is obligatory, and the second one is supererogatory, i.e. optional. Imam Abu Ikhlas Al-Hasan Al-Shubni radiyallahu anhu, he gives a detailed category of fasting. He says fasting can be of 6 types. We're going to mention them for the sake of barakah. The first one of them is obligatory, the fasting of Ramadan, or qada'an. If you miss the fast in Ramadan through a valid excuse in the Sharia, to make it up is obligatory. The second of them is wajib, what you have vowed and bound upon yourself. So you say, for example, if Allah Azza wa Jalla gives me this job, I will fast 2 days for him. You have bound that upon yourself, and that is wajib. The sunnah fasts, you know, ayyamul bid, the 13th, the 14th and the 15th day of the Islamic month, Mondays and Thursdays. These are sunnah fasts, why he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam emphasized them and recommended them to be fasted. And the day of Ashura falls within there. Then, nafil, any other day you choose to fast for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, which is not in a vow, is nafil. Then, there are days which are makruh to fast, disliked. What is this type of fasting? Continuous, perpetual fasting, every single day. This is disliked. Why? If it was something of merit, then surely he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would have fasted all his life. He didn't, he broke and he fasted, he broke and he fasted. And then the 6th category is haram. It is haram to fast on the day of Eid, Eid al-Fitr, and to fast on the day of Eid al-Adha and the 3 days of Ayyam al-Tashriq following there. These are the 5 days in the year which is haram to fast. So these are your 6 detailed categories of fasting. Imam Al-Quduri mentioned 2 types of broad categories. One of them obligatory and one of them optional. Why? Because if we look at the categories previously mentioned, the 6 categories, the first 2 are obligatory and the remaining 4 are optional. So the broad categories are given here. He says, فَالْوَاجِبُ ضَرْبَانِ. So fasting is divided into 2 types, obligatory and optional. As for the obligatory, it is subdivided into 2 types. منه ما يتعلق بزمان بعينه كصوم رمضان والنذر المعين. There are those obligatory fasts which are associated with specific times. For example, the fasting of Ramadan. The fasting of Ramadan. When the month of Ramadan starts, and you're not a traveler, and you're not ill, just by performing the fast, it is an obligatory fast of Ramadan. It is time specific, known as al-mi'yar. It is a vessel, and it won't allow anything to fall in within that vessel except the obligatory fast of Ramadan. And from them is also a time specific vow. Somebody says, if Allah Azza wa Jal grants good health to my sick mother, I will fast for him next Monday. You have specified that day for fasting. So it is now time specific. So from the obligatory fasts, there are two types. The first of them, which is time specific, associated with a particular time. And these have a ruling. فَيَجُوزُ صَوْمُهُ بِنِيَّةٍ مِّنَ اللَّيْلِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَنْوِ حَتَّى أَصْبَحَ أَجْزَأَتْهُ النِّيَّةُ مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ الزَّوَالِ. What's the ruling associated with these type of fasts, those which are time specific, either from the Sharia, Ramadan, or from yourself by binding upon yourself something? He said, for those, you are allowed to intend to fast on those days from the night. What do we mean by night? From after Maghrib the previous day. So if somebody makes his iftar today, and he intends to fast for the following day, it suffices him with that intention to fast. He said, in this case, if a person forgets or didn't intend at night, he has all the way to midday to intend for his fast. Now you will ask a question, what is midday? It is not 12 p.m. It is the middle of the day. And the middle of the day in Sharia is from the beginning time of Fajr, as-subh as-sadiq ila ghurub ash-shams, until the sun sets, not from sunrise to sunset. So if we take an arbitrary figure, 2 a.m. is the beginning time of Fajr. 10 p.m. is Maghrib. How many hours do we have in between? 20 hours. Yes? 20 hours. So before 10 hours expires from 2 a.m., you can intend to fast that day, which is time specific and obligatory. Why? Because more than half the day will be counted within the intention of fasting, so the whole day is counted as fasting. So in Ramadan, if somebody forgets to intend, he can intend up to half of the day. Half of the day here means half from subh as-sadiq to sunset, not from sunrise to sunset. والضرب الثاني ما يثبت في الذمة كقضاء رمضان والنذر المطلق والكفارات فلا يجوز إلا بنية من الليل. He said the second type of obligatory fasting is those which a person has bound upon himself by saying, I will fast a day, and he doesn't specify the day. Or he's making up Ramadan. He missed a day of fasting in the month of Ramadan due to illness or travel, and he wants to make that day up another day. This is not time specific. Why? Any day can fit into that. Or he is paying a penalty in the Sharia. So there are certain types of penalties in the Sharia which you pay. For example, knowingly, on purpose, breaking one's fast through certain actions will obligate a penalty, which is 60 continuous days of fasting. If a person makes an oath and breaks the oath, he fasts 3 days. If a person divorces his wife or intends to divorce his wife by saying to her that she is like the back of his mother, in Islam it doesn't count as divorce, it is known as dhihar. And if he wants his wife back, he must fast 2 months continuously, and so on. If a person kills a soul, a believing soul through an accident, then his penalty is to pay the fidya and to fast 2 months continuous. All of these type of fasts, a vow which is not time specific, days which he is making up from Ramadan which he has missed, or paying a penalty, all of these fasts, they are not time specific, so one must intend before Subh Sadiq for these fasts to be valid. He must specify the day for those fasts. They are not time specific. You choose the day, and how do you choose the day and specify the day? By intending before the day starts, which is a Subh Sadiq. Before that, the intention must be made. So these are the 2 types of obligatory fasts. Time specific, non-time specific. Time specific, you can intend from night all the way up to midday. Non-time specific must be specified before the day starts. That's a simple way to understand this. وَالنَّفْلُ كُلُّهُ يَجُوزُ بِنِيَّةٍ قَبْلَ الزَّوَالِ. And as for any optional fast, you can intend to fast that day any time from the night up to midday. How do we know this? He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was within his noble habit that he would go around to visit his wives in the mornings, and he would ask, do you have any food? And if they responded with the negative, we don't, he would say, today I am fasting. Nawafil fast, optional fasts. All the way up to midday, it is permissible. Somebody has a black Peugeot and it's blocking someone in YK06, as for the last 3 digits, it's not written. YK06, black Peugeot. If anybody owns it from here, please remove it. Thank you. Alhamdulillah, this year it appears there's been some unity on the beginning of when Ramadan starts, when it started. To avoid any future disputes, the A'imma, the scholars, the Fuqaha, they have a chapter, a sub-chapter within the books of Fiqh, in which they mention what people should do for Ramadan in preparation. He said, وَيَنْبَغِي لِلنَّاسِ أَنْ يَلْتَمِسُوا الْهِلَالَ فِي الْيَوْمِ التَّاسِعِ وَالْعِشْرِينَ مِنْ شَعْبَانِ. He said, it is incumbent upon people that they should look out for the new moon on the 29th day of Sha'ban. Because he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, الشهر هكذا. And in the second time he did this, and he took a finger off in the last one. He said the month is either like this, 30 days, and the second time he did that, and he took a finger off on the last one, or 29. The month is either 29 or 30 days. So there's a possibility of the length of the month being 29 days or 30. Hence, it is incumbent upon people to look out for the new moon on the 29th day of Sha'ban. Perchance, the new moon is seen, and Ramadan is started the following day. Now, originally in the madhab, they said, فَإِن رُؤِيَ الْهِلَالُ لَزِمَ جَمِيعَ النَّاسِ. They said if the new moon has been seen in any place, all of the people are bound to fast by it. So, اختلاف المطالع is called. Just like we have sunrise in different times, the moon has a rise which is different in particular places. The asal in the madhab, they said, when the moon is seen in a place, it doesn't bind every single person in the Muslim world. It's only confined to that place, to that territory, to that country. Every people have their own moon to look out for, because they have different moon rises. So if it's seen in Saudi, for example, or in Iraq, Oman, and we were looking out for the moon on the 29th and we didn't see it, we're not bound by what they saw. It is specific for their region. If you follow this way of fiqh, you never have any dispute or difference with anybody. We haven't seen it, we're not responsible. We see it, we're responsible. He said, فَإِنْ رَأَوْهُ صَامُوا. If the people see the new moon of Ramadan on the 29th day of Sha'ban, they fast the following day. He said, وَإِنْ هُمَّ عَلَيْهِمْ أَكْمَلُوا عِدَّةَ شَعْبَانَ 30 يَوْمًا ثُمَّ صَامُوا. If they couldn't see it, didn't appear to them, they count Sha'ban as 30 days and fast. No disagreement, no argument. What should we do as a people? We should form lijnas. We should form small committees, moon sighting committees. People should go out on the high moors of Bailden or Keighley, providing it's a clear sky, and look out for the moon. Scholars, students of knowledge, know what to look for. They should go out and do this. And it is from act of ibadah. It's an act of worship to look out for the new moon. Why? Because you are preparing to worship Allah Azza wa Jalla. So all the means are praiseworthy because the end is praiseworthy. وَمَنْ رَأَى هِلَالَ رَمَضَانَ وَحْدَهُ صَامَ وَإِنْ لَمْ يَقْبَلِ الْإِمَامُ شَهَادَتَهُ. So what about a person? He lives in the desert and he is rural. Nobody lives near him. He is alone. If he witnesses and sees the new moon, he fasts on his own, even if the Imam of the Muslims, the Sultan, does not accept his witness statement. Why? فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, whosoever sees the month, witnesses the month, the new moon, let him fast. Even though the Imam didn't accept his viewing of the moon, he himself is bound to fast by that. وَإِذَا كَانَ بِالسَّمَاعِ عِلَّةٌ قَبْلَ الْإِمَامُ شَهَادَةَ الْوَاحِدِ الْعَدْلِ فِي رُؤْيَةِ الْهِلَالِ رَجُلًا كَانَ أَوْ امْرَأَةً حُرًّا كَانَ أَوْ عَبْدًا. However, if there is an obstruction in the sky from dust and clouds or pollution or smog, whatever it is, and it's not possible to see the new moon, and the person does see it because there's an opening in the sky, or he was in a place where there wasn't an obstruction in the sky, providing he is upright and just. Upright and just. What does it mean? Somebody who is known not to miss his prayers, for example. Somebody who is known not to do sin openly. This is an upright and just person. Regardless whether the person giving the witness is a man or a woman, whether they're a slave or a free person. One person, if the condition is there must be an obstruction in the sky, preventing people from seeing the new moon, and if a person sees it somewhere because there's been a break in the sky or was in a place where there wasn't any obstruction, one person's witness statement is sufficient if the Imam for the Imam to accept for them to start Ramadan the following day. One person is sufficient, regardless whether that person is a man or a woman. Why did he mention that? Because in cases of penal law in Sharia, only men's witness statement is accepted. Reason for that is women's emotion take the better of them. It's not anything to do with putting women down and putting men up. It's something much deeper than this. So in this situation, a man or a woman, whether they are free or they are slaves, their witness statement is accepted. Only one is needed, provided they are upright, i.e. person known to do what is obligatory in the Sharia, avoid sins in public. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ بِالسَّمَاعِ عِلَّةٌ لَمْ تُقْبَلْ شَهَادَتُهُ حَتَّى يَرَاهُ جَمْعٌ كَثِيرٌ يَقَعُ الْعِلْمُ بِخَبَرِهِ. There is no obstruction in the sky. Everybody was looking out for the moon, they didn't see it. One person comes and he says, I saw the new moon. The Imam, the leader of the Muslims, will not accept his witness statement. Why? Because there wasn't an obstruction in the sky to prevent everybody else from seeing the new moon. However, what is needed in this instance is a large group who have seen the new moon. Jam'un kathir means a large group. Now, in the madhab, there's no defined number for this. How many people is it? What's the minimum? Abu Yusuf, Abu Hanifa's student, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, he said it must be at least 50 people, because he did qiyas on maqasama. So another ruling in fiqh, if a person is found murdered in a place and nobody knows the killer, the people of that locality where that person was found, they all brought forward, and 50 people amongst the locality have to make an oath. By Allah, we didn't kill him, and we don't know who killed him. If they don't say that, then the whole locality is responsible. So this, Abu Yusuf said, this is the way by which we attain certain knowledge. So he counted them as 50. The asl in the madhab, the principle in the madhab, is what the imam at the time deems to be a large group. It could be 5 people, it could be 10. It is mufawwadun ila ra'i al-imam. The imam will decide if the congregation who saw the moon is large or not. Is it sufficient by their news that knowledge is established or not? It's up to the imam. There's no specific number. So this is when there's no obstruction in the sky. A person comes and he says, I saw the moon, the imam will say, we can't accept it because everybody else would have seen it. Had you seen it? It's only with a large group that we can accept their statement if there's no obstruction in the sky. Now it comes to define what fasting is itself. Fasting linguistically means to refrain, to abstain. But in Sharia it has a specific meaning. والصوم هو الإمساك عن الأكل والشرب والجماع نهارا مع النية. In the Sharia, legally what is fasting? Fasting is to abstain and refrain from the 3 breakers of fast: eating, drinking, intercourse in the daylight hours with an intention. That's your definition of fasting in any time. Why did he say it is to refrain? Because a person who eats and drinks in the daylight hours or has intercourse is not deemed to be fasting. Then he said in the daylight hours, because you're permitted to eat and drink and do whatever you need to do in the night hours of Ramadan. Then he said with an intention. Whose intention is significant? The believers. The kafir's intention has no significance. So Iman and Islam and Bulugh and all these other things are innate within that definition. Meaning, if a person sleeps all day, he works throughout the night, he sleeps all day, he doesn't eat, he doesn't drink, there's no intercourse, and he wakes up at Maghrib time, for example, will he get the reward of fasting? No. There needs to be an intention. So with this definition, he has defined the meaning of fasting. It is to refrain from eating, drinking and intercourse in the daylight hours with an intention. That's jami' wal mani'. It is fully comprising of the definition and doesn't allow anything else to enter. He says, فإن أكل الصائم أو شرب أو جامع ناسيا لم يفطر. If a fasting person eats or drinks or falls into intercourse out of forgetfulness, his fast is still valid. His fast is still valid because النسيان من جانب من له الحق. Because forgetfulness is something decreed from the presence of Allah Azza wa Jal. The person is not responsible. So if a person eats while he's fasting, or drinks, or falls into intercourse, and is out of forgetfulness, as soon as he remembers, he abstains, his fasting is valid. There's no need to make that fast up. For example, a person starts eating in the daylight hours of Ramadan, he was fasting, he forgot. He's got food in his mouth, he remembers, oh, I'm fasting. Don't swallow that food, take it out. That's what it means. That's what it means. The same for the others. وإن نام فاحتلم أو نظر إلى امرأة فأنزل أو ادهن أو احتجم أو اكتحل أو قبل لم يفطر. If a person, it which happens. Remember, in fiqh, some people are embarrassed because of scenarios given. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ is your principle. Allah Azza wa Jal does not shy away from the truth. When a situation occurs, the occupation of the faqih is not to wonder at the situation. Oh, why? For him is to give the ruling from the situation. Halal or haram, what to do to rectify. So we have a classical case. A man came and he asked a question to a scholar. And he said, so and so hasn't been circumcised. He's 60 years of age now. What's the ruling? There was a student next to the sheikh. The sheikh gave the ruling, the man went. The student said to the sheikh, what's going on? A man 60, he hasn't circumcised? The sheikh said, it is not our affair to wonder at their states, rather it is for us to give the ruling. So if you find scenarios in the books of fiqh, don't wonder, how can this happen? Why did this happen? It's not your job. You as a faqih, your job is to rectify and validate people's actions. Situation occurs, you know the ruling, not the situation itself. It's not important. So he said, if a person has a wet dream, he wakes up, he takes a bath, as normal, his fast does not break. Person has a wet dream, normally ejaculation breaks the fast, depending on how it came about. If a person has a wet dream, his fast is still sound. If a person had any thoughts, I'm translating, these are not my words. He has any thoughts, or he looks at a woman through which he ejaculates. No physical contact, he doesn't make any physical contact, neither with the woman or with himself. He ejaculates, or a person has cooking done, i.e. bad blood removed from his body, or uses kuhl, surma in his eyes, or kisses without ejaculating, his fast is sound, it doesn't break. It doesn't break. To give blood does not break fast. فَإِنْ أَنْزَلَ بِقُبْلَةٍ أَوْ لَمْسٍ فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَاءُ. However, if a man kisses a woman, his wife, and through it he ejaculates, or he touches his wife or a woman. Now you may say, why is he talking about a woman? The act itself isn't halal to touch a non-mahram woman, it's haram. But what if he touched and he ejaculated? What's the ruling? See, the faqih is arriving at a ruling. He's not looking at whether this halal or haram. The act itself, he wants the ruling, he wants the outcome of the act. So if this happens, a man touches or kisses a woman and he ejaculates, he makes up that day of fast, because he had a part to play in it. As for the wet dream, as for thoughts or seeing a woman, he has no physical part to play in it, he is not responsible. This is how the second one differs from the first one. He says, وَلَا بَأْسَ بِالْقُبْلَةِ إِذَا أَمِنَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ وَيُكْرَهُ إِن لَمْ يَأْمَنْ. Now, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is known, is reported to have kissed his wife in the state of fasting. What does it mean? He said, if a person is sure that he can refrain and control himself, he will not ejaculate, he may kiss without any harm, following the sunnah, providing he doesn't swallow her saliva. That's a foreign body. If a person fears for himself, something may lead to another, he may ejaculate, it is makruh for him to kiss. Because you'll find the narrations in the books of Ahadith al-Sharifa, what's the ruling? Here is the ruling. If a person fears something will lead to another, it's makruh for him. The person is safe, he's confident nothing will occur, nothing will happen, it won't lead to anything. La ba'sa bihi, there's no harm in that. وَإِنْ ذَرَعَهُ الْقَيْءُ لَمْ يُفْطِرْ. If a person is overcome by sickness and vomit, regardless of how much comes out, his fast is still valid. He said, وَإِنِ اسْتَقَاءَ عَامِدًا مِلْءَ فِيهِ فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَاءُ. However, if somebody induces sickness by either placing a finger in there or doing something which induces sickness, and he is sick and the quantity is a mouthful, then he makes up that fast. If it's less than a mouthful, no makeup. The fast hasn't broken. Then he said, وَمَنِ ابْتَلَعَ الْحَصَاةَ أَوْ الْحَدِيدَ أَفْطَرَ. Whosoever swallows anything which is not normally consumed, it's not considered to be food, like a small pebble, a piece of paper, piece of metal, piece of plastic. It goes down, he swallows it, his fast is broken, he makes only one fast up. Because the meaning of iftar is found, which is something that's entered within the system. Which system? The GI tract. We'll talk about this in greater detail. وَمَنْ جَامَعَ عَامِدًا فِي أَحَدِ السَّبِيلَيْنِ أَوْ أَكَلَ أَوْ شَرِبَ مَا يُتَغَذَّى بِهِ أَوْ يُتَدَاوَى بِهِ فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَاءُ وَالْكَفَّارَةُ مِثْلُ كَفَّارَةِ الظِّهَارِ. Whosoever, again, it's a translation and it is direct in its translation and its meaning. You need to know the fiqh. Not how can this happen, why did this happen, should this be mentioned publicly, and so on and so. This is not our issue. Our issue is to know the ruling by which we validate our actions. He says, whosoever has any intercourse, regardless of whether it's from the front or the back, it doesn't make intercourse through the back permissible because he's mentioned it. It's still haram. But what if it happened? What's the rule? This is the occupation of the books of fiqh and the fuqaha. It's haram. A person is cursed. A man is cursed. But what's the ruling if it occurs? So if a person knowingly, he knows he's fasting and he falls into intercourse, regardless of which entry, front or back, or he drinks, or he eats anything that is normally consumed as food, or he uses medicine which is not in need of, then not only does he make up the fast is broken, but he makes up 60 other days continuously as a penalty. So a person fasting, knowing it is the fasting of Ramadan, it's obligatory, and he does something knowingly out of those things he mentioned, intercourse, eating or drinking, or using medicine, which is normally used as medicine, but he's not in need of. He's not in need of. His life is not in danger, he doesn't fear any illness, he just uses it, which enters the GI. For him, he makes up the day which he nullified, and 2 months, which is 60 days, continuous fasting, in which there isn't an Eid, i.e. Eid al-Adha. So you must, if a person falls into this, he starts straight after Ramadan, makes up the qada and the kaffara, and before the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, he completes his fast. But if he starts in Dhul Qa'dah, and there's only 40 days before Hajj, it is up to him. He doesn't start like this. He starts in a time where there will not be Eid al-Adha in its place to break the 60 continuous days. If a woman has fallen into this and she needs to make up those days, her menstruation is excused. Her days of menstruation is excused. The person who is making these fasts up and he falls ill to a state where he can't fast, these days are excused. As soon as he recovers, he continues from where he left off. He says, وَمَنْ جَامَعَ فِي مَا دُونَ الْفَرْجِ فَأَنْزَلَ فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَاءُ وَلَا كَفَّارَةَ عَلَيْهِ. If a person, again fiqh ruling, it happens, what's the ruling? If a person ejaculates through kissing or touching or through masturbation, he ejaculates, this is not known as intercourse. What does he do? He just makes the day he nullified. There is no penalty, i.e. there's no 60 days of continuous fasting. Why is it important to know? Because these things have occurred in the past. We're not saying, why did he do that? It's haram, doesn't he know? If it occurs, what's the ruling for that individual? He makes up the day. وَلَيْسَ فِي إِفْسَادِ الصَّوْمِ فِي غَيْرِ رَمَضَانَ كَفَّارَةٌ. If a person nullifies any other fast other than the fasting of Ramadan, there's no penalty, just to make up. So person fasting nafil is fasting a Monday. He has guests come around after Dhuhr. Guests have travelled, he served them food. It is permissible for him to eat with them, break his fast and make up another day. He has broken his fast knowingly through eating, but it's not the fasting of Ramadan. Because to honour the guest is obligatory from Iman. As to fast is nafil. You can make up another day. As for honouring the guest, مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفًا. Whosoever believes in Allah on the last day, let him honour his guests. If the guests want to eat, they feel shy, you can permit it to do so, i.e. to break the fast and make up. So there is no kafara, there is no penalty except for the nullification of the fasts in the month of Ramadan. Any other fast, there is only qada, there is make-up, no penalty. وَمَنِ احْتَقَلَ أَوْ اسْتَعْطَى أَوْ قَطَرَ فِي أُذُنَيْهِ أَوْ دَاوَى جَائِفَةً أَوْ هَامَّةً بِدَوَاءٍ فَوَصَلَ إِلَى جَوْفِهِ أَوْ دِمَاغِهِ أَفْطَرَ. Enema, i.e. rectal route. Some medicines are administered from the back of a human being because of its effectiveness in terms of being absorbed and so on and so on. So it says if anybody has this and it reaches the small intestine, then his fast is broken. Whosoever sniffs anything and it goes into his nostrils by where he can taste it, or it goes into his lungs, then his fast is nullified. They used to say this in the past. I'm transmitting the fiqh and I'm giving you the ruling. Whosoever drops anything into his ears, like eardrops, water or anything like this, they used to say his fast is nullified. Through investigation we found no contact, no way from the ears into the GI system, into a person's throat or any other place which is affected through fasting. Hence, if somebody did put oil into his ears, for example, his fast is still sound. The olden text, they believed there was a communication between the ears and the bloodstream and the GI tract, i.e. the throat, the stomach, or the intestines, but there isn't. Hence, through investigation, we've come to know that this ruling, where a person drops eardrops or oil or anything like that within his ears, his fast is still sound, it doesn't break. Their purpose and the reason for this ruling with them is sound. Because if there is communication between an orifice or a place within the body which reaches the internal system, fasting does break. So the principle and the reasoning is sound. Then he says, whosoever treats an open wound into the stomach or into the brain, then the fasting is broken. Why? It has reached the internal system by which hunger is affected. Whosoever treats those things, he is allowed to treat them, he is excused. But if he can survive without them, he should wait until after iftar. وإن أقتر في إحليله لم يفطر عند أبي حنيفة وقال أبو يوسف يفطر. Ihleel is known as the urethra, the urine passage. This circumstance it occurred, hence they gave the ruling. If somebody places something within his urethra from which he urinates, Abu Hanifa says the direction of flow from the urethra is from in to out. In to out, nothing really goes in. So he said if somebody did something, placed something within there, it doesn't break his fast. Abu Yusuf said no, he's gone inside and he's broken his fast. The ruling is, on Abu Hanifa's opinion, the fast does not nullify. وَمَنْ ذَاقَ شَيْئًا بِفَمِهِ لَمْ يُفْطِرْ وَيُكْرَهُ لَهُ ذَلِكَ. Said whosoever tastes something without swallowing it, it is disliked for him, but it doesn't break the fast. With the exception of a woman who has a bad-tempered husband. She cooks food, the taste isn't right, he shouts at her, he abuses her. For her it's permissible to taste food without swallowing it, because she is preventing a haram. She is preventing a haram. For her she is excused, anybody else is not. I'm making iftar today. Is it salty enough for the guests? You taste it's makruh for you. It's disliked, close to haram. It doesn't nullify the fast. وَيُكْرَهُ لِلْمَرْأَةِ أَن تَمْضُغَ بِصَبِيِّهَا الطَّعَامَ إِذَا كَانَ لَهَا مِنْهُ بُدٍّ. It's disliked for a woman to chew food for a child who can't chew food to make it soft, if she has another way of making the food soft. If she has another way. So modern technology, we have machines by which we can soften food, blend them and things like that. We don't use the mouth. A woman does not use her mouth to chew the food and make it soft for a child in that instance. If she is in a place where the child's life or the child's health depends on consuming food, and there's no other way to make the food soft, she is permitted to chew it without any dislike. وَمَدْغُ الْعِلْكِ لَا يُفْتِرُ الصَّائِمُ وَيُكْرَهُ. They used to have something which is called ilk. It was like chewing gum in the past without any flavor. What the people used to do, they used to use it to strengthen the gums and teeth. If a person was chewing that in Ramadan, there's no flavor in it. He's not swallowing anything, he's just chewing. It is disliked for him, but his fast will not break. Why is it disliked? Somebody onlooking will think he is consuming food, which leads to somebody making a comment which is haram. So it is to avoid public haram. ومن كان مريضا في رمضان فخاف إن صام زاد مرضه أفطر وقضى. If a person falls ill in Ramadan, and it occurs to him, if I continue to fast, the intensity of my illness will increase, or my illness will be prolonged, or I may lose my life, then he is permitted to break his fast and make up. A headache is not included in this. A person has a headache because he's fasting, take some tablets after iftar. It's not a dispensation, it's not an excuse in the Sharia to break your fast. وَإِنْ كَانَ مُسَافِرًا لَا يَسْتَضِرُّ بِالصَّوْمِ فَصَوْمُهُ أَفْضَلُ. This is a point of confusion amongst many people, and it is a great opportunity to clear it up. Whosoever is traveling and is not harmed by fasting, it is better for him to fast. What does it mean by traveling? It means he is in the state of travel at the time of as-subh as-sadiq. At the time, a person, at the time when fasting starts. Not I'm traveling tomorrow 9 a.m. so I'm in trouble, I don't have to fast. No. What is your state at the time fasting becomes obligatory? So if a person, for example, is traveling and his flight is at 6 o'clock in the morning, he prays Isha, Taraweeh, and he leaves and he exits the town, and the place he's going to the airport is over 50 miles away or whatever. He leaves, as soon as he's outside his town, he's classed as a traveller. So what is your state at the time of as-subh as-sadiq? Not what am I doing at 12 o'clock noon. I'm going to be traveling then. What was your state when the fasting started? School trips, for example, children are saying, we've got a trip tomorrow, we don't have to fast. No. You're not on the state of trip when you're leaving. When you're leaving, it's not at the time of as-subh as-sadiq. That's the only time you are permitted to miss and make up a fast if you're traveling at that time. Somebody came to Shaykh Maazin in Damascus and he said, Shaykh, I'm traveling for Umrah tomorrow. And as-subh as-sadiq was 3:30. He said, my flight's at 7 o'clock. The airport is only half an hour drive. He said, I don't think I can fast because I'm traveling. He said, the only way out for you is to leave the city before 3:30, because you will be in the state of traveling when fasting becomes obligatory. Not I'm going to leave at 5:30 when the fasting has already started and then I'll be traveling. You have no excuse to not fast. So remember this rule. What is your state at the time of as-subh as-sadiq? وَإِنْ أَفْطَرَ وَقَضَى جَازٍ. So in this state, if a person was traveling at that time of as-sadiq and he didn't fast and he made up, no reprimand, no harm. You can't reprimand him, you can't criticize him for doing that. This is a dispensation given to him by the Sharia. It is better if he can fast without harming himself, but if he decides he doesn't want to and he wants to make up, it's entirely his choice. وَإِنْ مَاتَ الْمَرِيضُ أَوِ الْمُسَافِرُ وَهُمَا عَلَى حَالِهِمَا لَمْ يَلْزَمْهُمَا الْقَضَاءُ. If a person who was ill had to miss days of fasting in Ramadan, and after Ramadan he never became well enough to fast and he died, he doesn't have to make up those fasts, neither does he have to leave it in his will that somebody pays fidya for me. Why? He was never able to fast in a healthy state. The same with the traveller. A traveller is travelling in the month of Ramadan. He's in the state of travel every morning of Sadiq. He's making his way home after Ramadan, and before he reaches home, he dies. All those fasts which he missed is not binding upon him, because he was never in a stage by which he could make up the fasts. However, if the ill person became well after the day of Eid and he missed 4 days of fasting in Ramadan through illness, and he lived 5 days and died and he didn't make up the fasts, it is obligatory to put in his will for compensation to be given for his missed fasts because he was able and he didn't make up. The same with the traveller. So if a person missed 4 days after Ramadan, after the day of Eid, he only survived 2 days in a healthy state and died, he's only responsible for 2 days. And this is from logic and common sense. Everybody understands this. وإن صح المريض أو أقام المسافر ثم مات لزمهما القضاء بقدر الصحة والإقامة. Again, how many days was one well enough? How many days was one resident after traveling before they died? Those are the days they are responsible for. وقضاء رمضان إن شاء فرقه وإن شاء تابعه. If somebody is making up multiple days of fasting which he has missed in Ramadan, it is entirely up to him whether he wants to fast them consecutively or separate them. It's entirely up to him. There's no harm. He can fast 1 day today, 1 day next week, 1 day following week, and so on. So if he's missed 10 and he wants to make up all 10 together, it's entirely up to him. There's no harm. Both of them are sound. فإن أخره حتى دخل رمضان آخر صام رمضان الثاني وقضى الأول بعده ولا فدية عليه. Some people, they become lazy. So what happens is a person missed some fasts in Ramadan. After Ramadan he was supposed to have made them up, he didn't. He didn't make the fasts up. Following Ramadan has come now. What does he do? He fasts the Ramadan which is present and makes up his lapse afterwards. He makes up his lapse afterwards and there's no penalty for it. So a person missed 10 days. Missed Ramadan. Shawwal comes all the way up to next year's Ramadan and he didn't make the 10 days up. What does he do when next Ramadan comes? He fasts next Ramadan. Makes up the qada afterwards. Not he says, I'm making up my qada now. No. Ramadan has priority. والحامل والمرضع إذا خافتا على ولديهما أفطرتا وقضتا ولا فدية عليهما. Pregnant women, breastfeeding women. Pregnant woman fears for the life and the safety of her fetus, her child in her womb. Fears for the safety. She thinks if I fast, then the child will be harmed. She is allowed to break her fast and make up afterwards. The same for the breastfeeding woman. If she's breastfeeding and the child is dependent on the breastfeeding and she doesn't produce any milk without food, she is allowed to preserve the life of the child to break the fast and make up afterwards. But this is not done through mere doubt. It is done through experience. So a person must be in certainty, or the benefit of the doubt is given to her doubt that the child will be harmed, not a mere whisper. So what happened was, some women were pregnant in Ramadan and they wanted to know the ruling. And the way to know the ruling is to fast one day and see your state, assess your state, rather than from the beginning say, no, I'm not going to fast. Assess your state. If you find it's improper, it's difficult, then break and make up. If you find you're okay, you carry on. It's as simple as that. This is how we establish certainty. There are many, many women in the world who starve for days on end and they give birth to healthy children. Alhamdulillah. The child is well protected in the womb of his mother. والشيخ الفاني الذي لا يقدر على الصيام يفطر ويطعم لكل يوم مسكينا كما يطعم في الكفارات. The Shaykh al-Fani, Shaykh here, it means an old man who is weak, unable, will never have any hope that he can fast in the future because of his weakness and his dependence on food. So he's not able to fast. What does he do? He doesn't fast. He doesn't fast, and as a substitute for every fast, he feeds a poor person how much? The amount that's given in Sadaqatul Fitr. Sadaqatul Fitr, which is Sa' min bur, nisfu sa' min bur, or sa' min tamar. It is about 5 kilos of dates or 2.5 kilos of flour. So the amount that's set every year for Fitrana, they call it, is that amount. If not monetary, what? To feed a poor person 2 full meals morning and evening. Morning and evening. This is what the Shaykh al-Fani does. An old man or a woman who is unable to fast because of old age. Just not able. ومن مات وعليه قضاء رمضان فأوصى به أطعم عنه وليه لكل يوم مسكينا نصف صاع من بر أو صاع من تمر أو صاع من شعير. If somebody missed fasting in the month of Ramadan and he left in his will, I couldn't fast so many days, make them fast so. Nobody does any ibadah on behalf of another person. Whatever the person is responsible for is responsible for. So if somebody from your family or your blood relation missed the prayer of Fajr and they died, you couldn't pray Fajr as a substitute for them. It wouldn't work. In the Sharia, fasting has a substitute. A person who dies and leaves in his will that fasting was obligatory upon me, I didn't make it for some reason, then his next of kin, he pays on the deceased's behalf per fast the amount given for fitrana. The amount given for fitrana. For every single fast, 2 full meals for a poor person, or the price of 5 kilos of dates or 2.5 kilos of flour, whatever is within the capacity of the wali. Providing the deceased left some wealth in the inheritance. If the deceased isn't, then the next of kin is not bound or obliged to do anything. ومن دخل في صوم التطوع أو صلاة التطوع ثم أفسده القضاء. Whosoever starts any optional act of fasting or prayer, and for some reason he nullifies that act, he makes up that act. For example, Allahu Akbar, you start praying nafil, you go into sajda, and your father calls you. He doesn't know you're praying, he calls you. You break your prayer and you answer to his call. Why? To respond and obey your parents is obligatory. Your nawafil prayer is your nawafil. What do you do when you answer his call? You come back and you make those 2 cycles because you're bound to upon yourself. The same way, non-obligatory fasting. So you fast on a day, guests come, you eat with them, you make up that day because you've nullified it. وإذا بلغ الصبي أو أسلم الكافر في رمضان أمسك بقية يومهما وصام ما بعده ولم يقضي ما مضى. There's some things which makes us responsible in the Sharia. These are called shurut al-taklif. Shurut al-taklif. What are the conditions of responsibility? A person in the Sharia only becomes responsible when he becomes an adult, i.e. at puberty. Before that, he is not responsible. The second one of them, he has to be sane, he has to have sanity. He can distinguish and discern between right and wrong. Third one, he has to have either the sense of hearing or seeing, or both. So if a person can hear, and the call of Islam can come to him, he is responsible when he hears the call. If a person can see, if a person doesn't have the ability to see or hear, he is not responsible, because the message cannot reach him. And the fourth condition is bulugh al-da'wah. The call of Islam must reach him. If the call doesn't reach him, he is not responsible. So if a child becomes an adult in the month of Ramadan, in the daylight hours of Ramadan, or a kafir who wasn't responsible for the details of Sharia becomes Muslim in the daylight hours of Ramadan, they didn't start the fast, they refrained from eating for the rest of the day out of honor for Ramadan. If they did eat, no harm, but it's better for them not to honor Ramadan. They don't make up any fasts that have already gone, they only fast what is coming, because they weren't responsible for the fasts that have already lapsed. ومن أغمي عليه في رمضان لم يقض اليوم الذي حدث فيه الإغماء وقضى ما بعده. If a person becomes unconscious or faints while fasting, he doesn't make up the day in which he fainted or became unconscious. However, whatever days come after it which he didn't find super sadiq, he makes up those days. He makes up those days. وَإِذَا أَفَاقَ الْمَجْنُونُ فِي بَعْدِ رَمَضَانَ قَضَى مَا مَضَى مِنْهُ. If a person who was insane, he lost his sanity, halfway through Ramadan or any point in Ramadan, he gained and his sanity came back to him, he makes up everything he missed. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla said, whosoever finds any portion of the month fasts it. Imam Muhammad rahmatullahi alayhi, he made a distinction between the two. He said there is